Hello everyone, thanks for checking out this video. We are going to be talking about a new feature that we have called clear panels. It involves skylight panels and eave lights along the walls. And some people may use this new feature to set up and do projects for like greenhouses. So a portable shed that may have clear panels all the way through. So again, if we look at this project here, we have it on the roof. We have some clear panels on the roof. We have clear panels along the eave walls. And I'm going to be going into a job and let's just walk through how to use the feature and where to find it. If you hang on to the end of this video, we'll be talking about how to set it up, so it may help some of the admins too. Here with the clear panels, if you click the drop down, let's start with the eave light. So two icons here, click on the eave light, and then the next thing is you just have to click on a wall. So if I turn the structure, I can select any individual wall. And we'll start with this front wall here. As soon as you click the wall, it opens up a dialog that you can choose, what size is the eave light? Does it go full length? Where is it located and all that? So if you uncheck the full width, it allows you to put in a length, and it may just be a partial section along that wall. We're just going to stick with the full width for this. And then the offset down, that's basically from the top of the eave wall, which may be in the roof line there, and then down. So I'm just going to set this to 2 feet down. So it's pretty easy to see the dimension there. And then the length of it is the length of the panel itself. So if you're stocking like a 2-foot section that you resell, you may want to set that to even increment of 2 or 4, whatever you have there. So as soon as I set the 2 feet, the next thing is the material. And again, we're going to go through the setup at the end, but I'm just going to select my standard skylight material, and then it's going to allow me to see the colors that I have available. So maybe I have a few different versions of this. Maybe a smoke gray would go good with this charcoal structure. Then I just click apply. And what this does is it's going to cut out a section, a 2-foot section of steel on this wall, and replace it with the clear panel. Now, a couple things to note that we're currently not doing, and it relies on the user to do that, and that is just lining up with the girt. So if you, depending on your girt spacing, you may want to do that accordingly. So you can see you get a nice clear panel there, and it even matches up my wall panel's profile. So again, that's the eave lights. Really quick, it's easy to use. You shouldn't have much difficulty figuring that one out. And then on the skylight, let's look at it real quick. So under the clear panels, if you choose skylight instead, this here, it gives you a little what to do suggestion here. And you just click on a roof. And again, if you have several roof planes in the job, you would have to click each roof and place them where you want them, because these are dependent on the panel width. So depending on how wide your roof panel is, that's how it decides where to place these. So if I click on the roof, and then it opens up this dialog here, and the start point, again, that's starting from the edge of your overhang. So if there's no overhang, then it's the edge of your wall. So again, when I set my start point at 3, in this case, because I'm doing a 3-foot wide panel, it's snapping to that first panel there. So again, think about that as you're placing these. Think about your panel width, where you want them to be. And again, it's very flexible in where you put these. You can set this offset down to wherever you want. And again, you may want to think about your purlin locations, where you want this to be placed for it to match with your purlins. So if I set the offset down to 4, and then the length being 3, maybe I want to stick to increments of 2 because that's my purlin spacing. Again, just something to think about. The materials, again, select your material, select your color. I go with the smoke gray again because we did it on the sides, and then how many, the quantity. And again, this may depend on your structure, but if you go ahead and put something like 6 in on a project this size, you can see what's going to happen. It lets you put it in all the way to the edge of the roof, which may get into your overhang. So again, it's up to the user to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this at 6 just so you see what happens. And then the skip factor, what is that? That's basically leaving one full panel between it. And you can do a skip factor of 2, and you can see what it'll do, the difference. I'm just going to leave it at 1 so we can see. I want to show you what it does when it gets into the overhang. So we'll go ahead and apply this. It's going to spin for a second. It'll cut out those sheeting parts there. So what you're going to notice, and we're going to zoom in here and look at this a little bit closer. But as it gets into the overhang, you can see it's overlapping the soffit. So probably not a good thing, probably not what you really want. So again, it's up to the user to place those. Anytime you want to edit either the eave light or the skylight, you can click on the Edit 3D. And if you also go into the skylight panel and then select, you can reselect them there, and then it lets you edit them. So as soon as I go to edit, I could change the quantity maybe to 5, adjust that, hit apply, and it'll remove this extra one. So again, that's how to use the new feature. I hope it works out for you guys. Hope you all enjoy it. But next, I want to go through the setup part. So the setup, it is a little involved. So if you've set up your sheeting parts already, you probably know how to do most of this. I'm just going to walk through it pretty quickly. So in the setup side, one thing to look out for is the permissions. We'll start there. So depending on your user permissions, it is a new permission on our users list. So you have to be able to edit clear panels to even see this feature. So that's one thing to check for if you don't see clear panels, and we can help you with that. If you want to call our support team, we can help you get that turned on if you need it turned on. So the next part is just going into the setup wizard and setting these all up. And I'm going to start in sheeting. And if you decide to do things like a clear panel walls, you may want to start in systems and set up a host system for the clear panels, create like wall panels, and maybe even clear trims or trims that are in that system. And that involves, you can watch some of our systems videos in the setup implementation series to see how to do more of that. But in this case, we're just going to be going into sheeting and setting up those parts, and then we'll back up in colors and do that. So in the sheeting, and I've already got an example skylight panel in here, but let's look at how it's set up, and we'll talk about that for a second. So if you already had a skylight panel and maybe you couldn't set it up the way that you wanted, you can now make it be a clear panel too. So if I click the plus symbol, and let's just call it skylight. As soon as I type in the description, maybe I have a SKU, I'll just call it SKY, and the coverage width in 36 inches for this type. Do 37.5 for the full width. Doing vertical, no color map, and the bump map, we're going to do an ag panel. So again, that's pretty standard there. The next thing is, what system is this part of? And if you have systems set up, you're going to want to put it into the same profile that you're going to be using. So if you're doing an ag panel and you use a skylight panel that matches your ag panel, we want to put this in the ag panel system. So we do that, and then where can it be used? And again, if you're only using it for skylights, if you're not doing full walls and full roofs, then you just find the eave light and the skylight usage, you click add, and that's all you have to do. The only two usages you need to set up. The next thing is, do you sell it in part links or do you sell it in a random link? So if you have part links of 2, maybe 4, you can click the add 2 and 4. Maybe you stock 8-foot links. Again, that's however you need to set yours up. I'm going to turn off part links in this case, and I'm just going to set it at a price of $4 per foot. And I'll have Smartbuild cut it for me. So again, that's the primary product. And we're going to skip over colors for just a second. I want to jump back, but if you want to set up colors, probably necessary if you have more than one color. You want to offer like a smoke color and things like that, maybe necessary. So I'll click save here, and we're going to jump back to colors now. Now in colors, again, the clear panel colors are a little bit different. There's a new feature we've added in order to show a transparent material. And I'm just going to jump to the bottom, and I'll grab, you can do this 2 ways. You can start a new color, and it's probably the easiest just to do that. So I'll just start a new color, and we'll call this smoke gray. And the hex code, again, it can be, you can just pick something that looks close, maybe to the gray. And then the transparency. So we have a little note here, should be between 0 is solid to 100% clear. And on a smoke gray product, I may say that it's going to be 80% clear. Just put in the color code. We're just going to do SMG, smoke gray, making that up there. And then the color map and bump map. Again, if I'm doing this on my product, I don't need to select anything here because I already have that on my panel. Now the next question is, do I make it part of my ag panel colors? And again, this is going to involve your fasteners if you have assembly set up and all that. So you want to think about, which system is this supposed to be part of? And if I choose to just make it part of my skylight system, if I would set up a skylight system, then what I would have to do is also add fasteners into that system, into those colors, and it's a little more involved. But if I add it into my ag panel, click the add here, now this lets me choose it as a color for my metal. So you have to think about that and how you want to set it up. So we'll just go ahead and put it in the ag panel, and we'll move on for now, and I'm going to click save. So at the bottom, you're going to see this color show up. So we have a smoke gray color, and I'm going to take that one, and I'm going to clone that color and add a new one, and we'll call this one just clear. And I may select a different CC here. We'll go a little bit lighter. And the transparency, we're going to put 100% on this. Color code is CLR, and we'll leave that blank, and this is all good. So as soon as you identify, how you want your system set up, we've got the 2 colors there, then we can go back to sheeting, and we can go ahead and go into that skylight panel, find it, and we can toggle on colors. So since this is part of the ag panel, when we click colors, it's going to load all the ag panel colors, which may be a little bit more than you want. And we don't want to do that. We're just going to delete we're going to delete all these colors except those two new colors that we just added at the bottom. So we click delete, we save, yes, and now we have our smoke gray and our clear and these two. So we click save, do all that, and now we are ready to go to the final step, which would be the assembly, if you want to use it as an assembly. And if you haven't watched the assembly video, maybe you want to go do that. But quickly we can go through and we can set it up to here. I just click the plus sign. I select my primary material, find it on this list, choose my skylight. It automatically will inherit the usages, and I can select which system it's part of. I select ag panel, and then I select if I want to use it on my walls I can, or just as skylight and eave light. And then the entries are add new. I click add new, select the fastener type. What is the material I want to use? And this is what I mentioned earlier, where you have to be a little aware of what colors are available. So if I go and I choose my standard steel screw, maybe I use 1.5 inch or whatever screw, I'm just going to pick one. And then you put in your calculation, so much per square foot, maybe it's 1 per square foot. So when you do that, keep in mind that it's going to try to find a smoke gray screw and a clear screw, which probably doesn't exist. So the last little step that we would have to do is, even though we selected this item, the way assemblies work is when you pick a color for that skylight, it's going to find a screw that matches. So the last little step we may want to do is go into fasteners, and whichever screws you're going to be using for that skylight, you may want to find that screw. Just going to search for my steel screw here, find that, and I think I had selected this one. And again, when you take this screw, you want to make sure that you click the add button and add the color code for those two new colors that we just added. And if I go ahead and do this, and I'm going to do CLR also, so now I have these two screws added. Well, obviously there is no smoke gray screw and there's no clear screw. So what do I do? Well, I can take this and I can use a vendor SKU and override it with another color that I just want to use in that case. So if my SKU is MS12CC, that means if I want to do a gray screw, that means that my MS12 would be MS12GR for gray. So again, if I do that, I can take this smoke gray and I'll just type in an override so that whenever I use these colors, it's going to know to use a gray screw. So I do the MS12, and I'll just do GR. And that's basically saying an override to use this screw instead. And again, you repeat that for the clear, maybe use a different color, and maybe you could just do the gray too, either one. Whatever color screw you want to use in that case for those clear panels. So GR, I go ahead and put my price in and all that. And then when you upload your pricing, it's always going to just update the smoke gray and the clear screw with the price of this. When you do an order, it's going to order gray screws for that. So again, getting a little bit deeper into the setup, but it is really necessary. It is necessary for this all to work to do that setup too. So again, we go through, we set up the colors, we add the two new colors, we set the transparency factors, we go to the sheeting, we add the skylight panels so that we can use it, whether it's on the walls or for eave light or skylights. And then you also add the fastener parts, the color codes for the fasteners. So when you do all that, and then the last part would be the sheeting assemblies where you create that assembly. And again, if you need more help on assemblies, I would suggest going to the implementation series and watching, I think it's 13 and 14 on assemblies, trim assemblies. And then the last thing I'll mention is if you do choose to use it on your walls for entire clear projects, be aware of what your trims are. So you may want to go ahead and add trims in of those colors, or you could do what I did here, and I just used a solid trim color for the corner, exterior corner. So when I look at my exterior corner color, I have it set to accent color 1 instead of matching the walls or the trim. And then that, in my main building settings here, that color is set to just a bright white. And again, that's just depends on how you want to set yours up and how you want to use it. So wrapping it up, I think that covers it. Again, this is our new feature coming out in 1.97, clear panels for the roof and for the eave walls. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and God bless.